What's up guys, Chris here with another 4 Nights of the Apocalypse manga chapter review. And yes, I am not doing the live reaction discussion type thing that I did with last week's video, but I'm finally getting the hang of editing these manga reviews now, so I think I could manage to do them in a much more, well, tolerable light than the fact that I did it last time. It did kind of feel a bit cringe when I was doing it last week. I'm still figuring things out, but I'm finally going to get these chapter reviews back to how they were when I was initially doing them, so I hope you guys can forgive last week's change and, you know, the constant shifting of the style of how I'm making the videos. I was just trying to test something out and see what could go well, what would be wrong, etc, etc. Now this was an honestly pretty quick read for this week's chapter. Not too much happened, but the fight between our main group and one of the Dark Talismans actually got a bit intense and seemingly ended this chapter, or was at least leading into the climax of this chapter, if we don't take the ending too literally for all intents and purposes. Still another really good chapter, and I think the pacing is going to be pretty decent, at least with this mini arc that we're going through before getting to Leonis, and it's basically a trial by fire for the main cast. But before we get into the actual review, don't forget to check out my Patreon and my Coffee account to help support the channel more directly. And of course, the obvious, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos, as we are very close to 1,000 subscribers, just shy of 60 more subs before we reach the grade 1K. I really believe we can make it by the end of the month. I want to get it done very quickly, so I really hope you guys can help me out with this. And with all that said and done, let's get into the chapter. Chapter 43, The Intense Battle Unfolds. Taking off where we were from last chapter with the quartet attack managing to land a few hits on this Dark Talisman, we see that Percival's sword was in fact coated in magic, and it did hit the head of this knight. But it seems like it didn't really do much damage, as he managed to catch himself and get back into a good position. But it didn't really hit him, it only grazed him, thanks to Sin's quick observation that this knight managed to just barely avoid it. It did seem like the hit did kind of like graze the helmet with no real damage taken to it. But then the Dark Talisman speaks, stating that he, just off of what just happened, Percival is still very new with the sword. He didn't really hit him. He does compliment them on the sneak attack, it was very well planned, but he does state that Percival's a novice with the sword and that it just barely even grazed him, and it looked like he hit him, which was a pretty obvious trick on the, artist's part to make us think that they managed to land a good hit on him. But then he gives a compliment to Naziens and An, as they actually managed to hit him, but he stresses that Nasiens, while he has a good head on his shoulders, he's just too weak to do any kind of damage to him. And he even just says that the combat was nice overall, and I like how they're all just reacting just very comedically. Like, Anna's like, how dare you hit a girl? Nazian's just speechless. Donnie's like, what, nothing about me? And Percival's like, he's not little, he's just a kid. He's not even a kid. He's literally not a kid. I find it kind of hilarious. And he even brings it together that they use decoys to split everyone up just to make things easier, and also pick this specific branch so they wouldn't be picked off or taken out very easily in a free-for-all brawl. But then Nazians notices something, telling them to look out, as the knight jumps up into the air, and we see this fluid that he seems to have created, and he launches them down on everybody. The skill is called Epicurean's Slaver, and Sin in the branches tells Percival, Nazians, and Nazians to coat everyone's weapons in magic. As then, I like how the Dark Talisman notices Sin in the branches as he's giving them this advice, but they do take the advice. And they get hit by this rain type substance that was hit, and they're wondering if it's rain or whatever. Nazians takes a lick of it, but then we notice with the boot of Donnie, at least I believe that's Donnie's boot, once it touches on the branch, it ends up creaking as the Dark Talisman is lunging down on them. They all manage to dodge out of the way, and then he manages to hit the branch. But just like that, with one single hit, one stab into the branch just collapses in on itself, splitting apart, and everyone begins to fall. They're wondering, with just a single sword strike managing to do this, but it wasn't the sword. And at this rate, the tree is just going to fall apart and take them with them. The horse, Sylvain, is panicking about this, but Sid is keeping calm, stating to just shut up and watch, as Donnie manages to do one of his best feats yet and hold up not just his friends, but primarily all of the branches that are falling with his floating magic. And this is honestly one of the best feats Donnie has done, as it shows that his magical power is very useful and pretty damn powerful, all things considered, to float this many objects very very quickly. But the Dark Talisman does state he is impressed with what Donnie is doing, and stating that this is slow magic as he nonchalantly just, steps over to Donnie, going for him, pounding his fist onto Donnie's chest. But just as Donnie is about to retort, he feels an immense sting of pain in his chest, as we then cut to seeing that Donnie has a bruise from his chest and he's bleeding there, as his shirt is also torn up. And because of his loss in concentration, the trees once again begin to fall, with the Dark Talisman just mocking him and teasing him, saying, "Oh, don't let up. You want your friends to die here and now?" As he keeps pummeling at Donnie's chest to get him to drop everybody. Percival jumps up from behind Donnie to try and slash the Dark Talisman, but he manages to dodge out of the way with ease, stating that he could read Percival's moves like a book. And he then lands a good knee to Percival's gut, as it shows that Percival just got a huge hit on him. He's bleeding, he's bruised, and seems like he's out of breath from that one hit. Sin is stating the obvious: use your damn magical power to make everybody fly. But the Dark Talisman saying that he can't have any of that, and states that he wants to have more fun, as he continues to pummel Donnie and Percival seemingly trying to take all of Donnie's hits, as they're saying that this is no big deal, as they're taking all these hits. As the Dark Talisman then states the motto of their leader: be certain and be fast. Which kind of helps with how the previous leader of the Dark Talisman basically acted quickly and dispatched one of their previous members because they fell under the enemy's influence, primarily Gothers, back in chapter 39? No, back in chapter 40 when this happened. But this knight says he has his own motto: make it a gourmet delight. I don't know why he did that with an accent. But anyway, this whole thing makes us believe that this particular Dark Talisman is a very sadistic bastard. He likes toying with he's toying with his food. Anyone he fights, he'll toy with them. And it's showing with how he's just not finishing them off, despite how his leader wants him to just straight up just take down the enemy as quickly as possible and don't underestimate them. Just take them down with all your might. And yeah, it shows that this group has their own personalities and own mottos. For all we know, this Dark Talisman is completely different from the rest of the group. He's kind of the sadistic bastard of the group, for all we know. But yeah, if anything solidifying the Camelot Knights as evil, it's this guy, Tulsker, and Ironside in particular. But anyway, An is asking why they're all so beat up, but Nasiens points out that it's a degeneration type spell, as a knight does state. Yes, you're right on the mark, and it's called Wither. Stone, metal, wood, or even flesh. One bolt of magic, and it all loses its strength and durability, which is why Percival and Donnie were taking so many heavy blows, why the tree itself managed to wither away and was destroyed within one single strike, and just in all honesty, why Sin told everyone to coat their swords and weapons in magic, because if they didn't, then their weapons would have been instantly destroyed. Percival, Donnie, An, and Nazians would have lost their swords, so it shows that magic can in fact block it with this effect of withering type ability. But then, just like that, the Dark Talisman lunges forward to try and attack Naziens, and Naziens is managing to pretty nicely block everything. And even An in the back is saying, "I'll sub for you, let me help." But yeah, I like that Naziens isn't really saying that he'll switch, and the Dark Talisman getting cocky states that Naziens' power isn't enough to fully block him, as he is right about to land a punch on Nazien. We get a panel right at the top looking as if Nazien's head was just punched clean off by the Force, especially since his durability of his flesh was greatly reduced thanks to the Wither type spell. As everyone goes on in shock and horror, and just like that, we see Naziens didn't flinch. Like the punch that the knight had no force. As he states, "I'm glad I tested out this drug out while it was in battle." As the next panel, we see that his magical power Venom mixing was used with the Keranos horn. And that's a really nice piece of continuity. Last chapter, Naziens actually wanted to test out the Keranos horn shavings, the type of drug that it could be created with right before the battle. And I like how this is being brought in right now, as I know people who are kind of like the whole power of coincidence type thing, the rule of coincidence and stuff like that is kind of lazy writing in everything, but this just fits Nazien's character to a T, as he was just given a new type of drug that can be used for a really great medicine. So since he had the opportunity to ingest it and making it his own, then yeah, he managed to actually, take it before this battle, and it just so happened that the enemy they're fighting basically has something the complete opposite of whatever drug he has just taken. So it's a nice way to counteract this type of bad situation that they're in, and it shows that Naziens has his own merits the battle besides poisoning people. And yeah, I'm just glad that this Keranos Horn thing managed to help it out, because the effects of the Keranos Horn actually, just one dose in fact, manages to enhance the strength and endurance of someone. I mean, the Keranos is a legendary beast, and it's more than enough to annul a wither spell. And just like that, the knight begins to try and hit Naziens once more, but then Naziens brings up a mist screen to block the knight's vision. He states that this is narrow ground, there's no way you'll be able to get away from me like this. He begins to swing at Naziens, but Naziens manages to dodge it and manage to hit the knight's wrist. And the knight, surprised, is like, why is this happening to me? As he just got hit very easily, and his armor and his flesh were torn up by one single strike from Naziens, and we all know a Naziens isn't very strong, the knight pointed out as well. And he's wondering, is this a wither spell too? How did you do this? As Percival states something that we've all known for a while, once Nazien takes in a poison, he makes it his own. So that mist he just hit the knight with was his own brand of the wither spell that he had luckily ingested previously as they got hit by the rain containing the wither spell. So once again, Naziens was very prominent in another fight, and this one in particular basically helped them with the win, as Percival comes up from on top of the knight and lands a strong slash against the knight's face, as it is shown that he managed to actually hit him. The next panel shows the helmet cracked, revealing the knight's face, as there's also a large gash in his torso as well as he falls off the tree, presumably to his death. As Sinja says, well done, and that's going to be a long day, thus ending the chapter. And I gotta say, this was a really nice chapter, and I like that it wasn't taking too long for this particular fight in this arc to take very long. It was quick, it gave us what we need with the potential of how dangerous these knights are. It gave someone like Naziens another key role in defeating or at least surviving this assault, as without devouring the Keranos Horn, his endurance wouldn't have been boosted immensely to the point where the wither spell wouldn't affect them, but the fact that he took the opportunity to test if this was actually a type of poison while they were hit by the rain, thanks to Sin's warning, he managed to ingest the wither spell through the rain and turn that into his own type of poison that he turned against the enemy, thus allowing this particular opportunity to allow Percival to land a finishing blow on the knight, seemingly ending this whole encounter. Now, whether or not this knight is dead or not is still up in the air, but it was stated that back in the previous chapter that if they fell from that height, they would die instantly, as it is a very high altitude. But yeah, that's essentially what this chapter boiled down to, giving us a good through line with how strong these enemies can be against our main group if they manage to do good teamwork. Now, here's one thing I might think would happen in the rest of these fights. Nazians might actually give everyone else the Keranos Horn shavings to boost their endurance and their strength, their durability and their endurance, so that they can withstand whatever attacks that the enemy will throw at them if this particular encounter is anything to go by. Now, will this happen? I'm not sure, but I think it would be a good idea strategy-wise, as it will help them tank hits from these otherwise much more powerful opponents. So that's essentially what I'm going for and I'm hoping for next chapter. But anyways, what do you guys think of this chapter? Do you think this fight was too short? Do you think it was just the right amount of length? What do you think of Nazian's usage of the Keranos Horn and the power of coincidence that was basically used in this whole encounter right now? And how do you think the rest of the cast is going to fare against the rest of the Dark Talismans, as we don't know their powers yet? And they're stated to be a very elite group, as Pelgard was surprised that they were sent out against them. Let me know in the comments down below with your thoughts and opinions on this chapter. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you all have an awesome day.